Coming up on today's Alabama Football Report, Keon Sabb has entered the transfer portal. Could that be a target for Alabama? We'll break down that and the current 2024 defensive back room. If you want Alabama to land Keon Sabb in the portal, more on him momentarily, then like today's video right now. The Michigan safety has, at a very kind of a last-minute decision, hopped into the transfer portal here, and Alabama has immediately been linked as one of the top teams to beat. Background here, Bama offered both of Sabb's brothers on junior day, because always a good sign when you're going after a notable transfer portal player to go after his siblings as well. Courtney Morgan, who is now kind of leading, I'll call it like GM role almost, like kind of think NFL GM, but for recruiting side of it, was the primary recruiter at Michigan for Keon Sabb. Now he is in charge of, or actively involved, in charge of whatever you want to call it, of some of the recruiting side for Alabama. He will be a redshirt sophomore, a potential early piece this year of instant impact guy, and being a longer-term piece on top of that. And your, as we'll get into, cornerback room is not that great, or your secondary room, I should say, is not that great. Back in 2022, Sabb was a four-star recruit. He was number 84 overall, the 9th-ranked safety, and the number 12 player from the state of Florida. Now, he was not a critical part of this Michigan defense. He still played a decent amount, but it's not like he was, always out there as a true starter, so to speak. But his numbers in coverage are still pretty solid. 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, 1 touchdown allowed, 134 yards on a sub 48% completion rate. I will make note, sometimes the coverage stats can be a bit wonky in terms of that for safeties because a little bit tougher to identify, but he did play 360 snaps and was kind of safety 3 for Michigan this past year with some key pieces going back. He opts in the portal instead. Now, here is what Justin Hopkins, who writes for the On3 Oregon side, which always noteworthy when the source is coming from outside of Alabama. I was told by a source that Alabama's probably the team to beat right now. They feel Oregon is probably number 2 and relatively close, but Bama is throwing everything they've got at him after losing Caleb Downs. I could see him taking a few visits, or he just might pick a school. Now, I will make note, Oregon's NIL funds are pretty damned impressive. They have certainly benefited from the new era as of late. Bama's NIL doesn't necessarily work like that. We'll see what changes come to that side now that Nick Saban is no longer there. Bama's has already taken the incentive-based post, like guaranteed signing bonus type of money right there. But when you've got some familiarities, you have a need, it makes a lot of sense for the Crimson Tide. So what is the percent chance Alabama lands Keon Sabb in the transfer portal? Low number, high number, sound off for me with the pinned comment of today's video. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. I did want to look then at this defensive back room in particular and why it would make a ton of sense to land another former top 100 recruit in the defensive backfield because, boy, you are thin on proven talent. This is a big asterisk here on frankly every spot because we'll talk about Malachi Moore. Could he play safety or kind of that, the Husker role was no different than that nickel safety overhang defender they used last year, just different terminology for it in the new defense. But there's not a lot of proven snap counts on this team. Looking more into the return defensive backs, thank goodness Malachi Moore came back. This would be one of the more unproven defensive back rooms in the SEC in Power 5 football had they also lost Moore on top of their top 3 corners and Caleb Downs and Jalen Key. It would have been down your top 6 defensive backs if Moore had not returned. That's dicey. Moore's numbers last year in kind of more of a nickel corner role, 76.1% completion rate, 363 yards allowed, 3 touchdowns, an INT, 3 pass breakups. I think deep speed is still a question mark with him, but I thought around the box he was a better player. And I will make note, box and box and nickel can overdevelop at times. The snap counts here overlap at times. 153 in the box, which is kind of more of a off-ball linebacker type of role where maybe there was motion or whatever, kind of lined up where a linebacker would be. Free safety, back deep, 69. Nice. Most of his time came in the slot, 468 snaps there. Couple of reps at outside corner, which is almost always, hey, they were in man, they motioned somebody, now he's the outside corner. More on the other defensive backs to come. But first, help us get to 17,000 subscribers. We are 17K away, or 350K away from 17K, excuse me. Hit that sub button for more free Alabama football YouTube videos right now. All right, next up is Devon Smith, not the receiver, the defensive back, who also could play a critical role for this Alabama team this upcoming season. Smith battled a ton of injuries in 2023. He was never really healthy. He was never really 100%, and it showed. It sounds like he's still kind of been battling something, which is noteworthy because you got to get healthy. You want to be good to go for spring, but at minimum, you got to be good to go for the fall. Here's what Justin Woodall, a DB trainer, who's worked time with Smith, some of these other guys we'll talk about here, by the way. He's been kind of nicked up, he said on Smith. We're going to train him when he gets ready. He said he's ready to get some work in with me, but he's kind of nicked up, so he hasn't had a chance to get out there. I think he's going to have a big impact in that secondary. Once he heals up and all that stuff, gets his stuff right, I think he's going to be a major impact in that secondary. I hope that ends up being the case. Smith played a handful of snaps last year. Nothing to really glean from his overall impact in terms of, you're out there playing, 30 snaps or whatever. It's just not enough to really judge anything on. So, need to have a good spring and fall. Can't treat him as a guarantee, though, either. Tony Mitchell is next up here. Now, he had a very challenging fall/spring after the arrest happened. He had to earn his way back, not just to the field, but to the program, period. Seems like he's gotten himself back on the straight and narrow, which is very good. He also didn't play much last year. It's a very common thread, by the way. We'll make note, 9 slot snaps. So maybe Mitchell stands out in that Husky role. Maybe you try him back there at safety. Again, the modern-day college football defenses, that slot corner role, kind of an overhang role on the safety spot, not that dissimilar. Here's what Justin Woodall said on Tony Mitchell. I think he got a lot of mental reps. Tony's a ball player, man. I think he could help that secondary out a lot this year, from a safety standpoint, from playing the star standpoint. Again, star Husky role, kind of the same. I don't know if they play in the 4-2-5 or not, but there might be a lot more DBs on the field. I think he can play any position out there. He played corner in high school, but he got a lot bigger. So I'm pretty sure they'll probably try to keep him at safety or the star spot or rover or something like that. But just having a year under your belt helps a lot, and Tony's a high-caliber athlete. So I think he can help out. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. You're picking 2 to 6 player stat projections, more than, less than, on those stat projections. There is no more college football. There are no more NFL Prize Picks options because those seasons are over. But there's esports, there's NBA, there's college basketball, there's golf, and there's NASCAR as well. Now, I will never pretend to be a NASCAR aficionado. I reached out to our guy here at Chat Sports, Tyler Jones, who knows a lot about NASCAR. Here are his picks this week. I'm doing the flex play. That way, if I get one wrong, I'm still okay. I'm not falling apart, and I only get 2 out of 3 right. Flex play is always the way to go unless you got some bonus you're trying to capitalize on. Joey Logano, more than 25.5 fantasy points. Denny Hamlin, more than 32.5. And Tyler Reddick, more than 20.5. Obviously, these 2,500 are supposed to be today on Sunday. It's now going to be on Monday, so take advantage of the delay to get some prize picks in. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Next up is Brayson Hubbard, who is not a name we've spent really any time on previously. Here's again what Woodall said on Hubbard. I think he's a super athlete. He played the Q position so much, he never really got a chance to play DB for real in high school. It's just tuning up his rhythm and all that, and I think he can make an impact also. Heard that before, stop me. Because he's a hell of an athlete. To be able to go from quarterback to DB, you got to be a good athlete. He's got good size on him. So he's going to be a tweener between safety, rover, in that range right there. Again, as an aside, rover, star, Husky, treated all the same. There's really no difference on that position in terms of being that nickel slot, sometimes overhang defender. Now, Hubbard was the level 6A Mr. Football in Mississippi in 2021 and 2022. He played a lot of special teams previously for Alabama. He is a fantastic athlete. And new coaching changes come in. Sometimes those athletes, they take a step forward in terms of getting a chance under a new coaching staff. He hasn't played much defensive back. Could have a chance to contribute. I'd put him in the wild card category. How much are you really going to get out of him? I am not so certain. But that's true for all these guys outside of Malachi Moore. There's not enough experience to say yes and no definitively on any of these guys. It's why you're so interested in a guy like Keon Sabb, because it's another top recruit who has the pedigree that you typically look for in transfers that could potentially make an impact, and he's played more snaps than all these guys combined, except for Malachi Moore. Seems noteworthy. With that in mind, are you worried about Alabama's defensive back depth? Why for yes and for no, sound off in the comment section right now. The name here is Jalil Hurley. Again, we made the note of, hey, they haven't played together. Nope, he has not played either. Again, pedigree matters here for Hurley. 4-star recruit back in 2023. 50th overall, was the number 5 ranked corner, and the number 8 from the state of Alabama. He did not play in 2023. That's not necessarily a surprise. He's a true freshman. You would love to have one of these young guys, whether it's, or even 2 of them, given how, how many players, like 10 DBs, the portal, draft, etc. You need 1 or 2 of these guys to step up, because you can't count on all freshmen and all transfers to make an immediate impact for you. Speaking of the transfers, that is the bonus player, Domani Jackson. Man, it could be really dicey if he did not commit to Alabama or if he hopped back in the portal originally. Jackson was not as impactful as the 5-star pedigree suggested he would be at USC. I would also say this. Not like the coaching was good. Alex Grinch's defenses were not good for the Trojans at all, and there's a reason why he's like the safeties coach now for Wisconsin. Kind of took a pretty big step back there. So the upside for Jackson still really does intrigue me. So name a defensive back who you think will break out in 2024, or DBs. I think multiple is certainly viable there as well. Head down to the comments section. Let me know right now.